It's Ask Me Anything on this Friday, so come on in, you guys. Make yourselves at home here today on Jimmy Rants. Click on that little box down there in the corner. It'll take you straight to IGTV so you can watch today's episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content, but you gotta go follow me. I'm over on Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LIVINLOWCARBMAN. Once you're there, engage live, just like all these people. I see my bro King Keto just came in. What's up, Brandon? So thank you all for being here today on Instagram. We're also simulcasting live over here on my Facebook page. I see Tracy and Norma popped in to say hello. So thank you guys for being here. Also over on my YouTube lives, thank you guys for watching as well. Everybody's here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live here on Instagram, it does show up on IGTV as soon as we're done. We post it right up there so you can go watch. You can also watch it on replay over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword, Jimmy Rants. You can find all the past episodes of this show. And then finally, we have an official website for this show, JimmyRants.com. And while you're there, you can see all the past episodes. And also, if you get value out of what we do here, definitely throw some value back at me. We have a Patreon link there where you can click on it and you can choose the monthly donation that you feel fits your budget the best. And anything you can give would be greatly appreciated. Definitely not doing any kind of sponsors on this show, but I do put a lot of energy and effort into providing good content on here. So if you get good value from what I share here, then give me value back about what you think it's worth. So today, guys, is Friday. And on Fridays, what we do on Jimmy Rants is literally Ask Me Anything. So 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday is where we go live. And so Fridays, we do this Ask Me Anything. So I've got some really good questions in the queue here. So go ahead and get me your questions ready. I can answer pretty much anything you want to talk about, but definitely about keto, fasting, cholesterol, podcasting, book writing, social media, being famous online, pretty much whatever you want to ask about. And then things personally about me you might want to know about. So we'll get to those here in just a moment. But as I always do, I have a few articles that I want to make some commentary on. Just quick little bites here for Jimmy Rants while you guys put in all your questions. So everybody start putting in questions. That way when I come to you here in a minute, I have something to talk about. All right, so this first one is from Market Watch. The meat industry will be gone in 15 years, according to the CEO of Impossible Foods. So if you know the movement over the past couple of years, the plant-based burgers have come out, and a lot of the companies are run by these guys that are like hardcore into the movement. And they honestly believe that within 15 years, by the year 2035, they will have completely eliminated all meat from the human diet. Now, how do they think they're going to do that? I don't know. It'll be over my dead body, over Sean Baker's dead body, over all of us who think that meat is valuable. We're going to raise a stink. I don't know how they're going to do it without something dramatic happening in our culture that would make it happen. But all they need to do is pay attention to what's happening on YouTube. Look at all the biggest names in the vegan world on YouTube. Almost all of the big names on YouTube in the world of veganism, they are quitting veganism. They're going to animal-based foods. And some of them just fish, some of them eggs, not all of them red meat, but still, it's a big move. The founder and chief executive of Impossible Foods is Patrick Brown, and he made this statement about all the meat being gone within 15 years on CNBC recently. And he said, "This is why I think people are increasingly aware plant-based products are going to completely replace the animal-based products in the food world within the next 15 years. That is our mission. That transformation is inevitable." Now, the thing that he put in there that kind of jumped off the page is it's our mission to make sure that we replace all animal-based foods with plant-based ones. When you call something your mission, it means you go out of your way to make happen. So what exactly are they going to do at Impossible Foods to make sure that the elimination of all meat happens by the year 2035? Stay tuned, I guess. I'm not going anywhere in the next 15 years, so we'll see if that comes to fruition. I'm going to go with no, but good luck. These next two, this was really interesting, and going on the COVID stuff. In Oregon County, or a county in Oregon called Lincoln County, they have now exempted non-white residents from a new order that mandates that you wear a mask in public. And the reason they have put out this exemption for basically black people wearing a mask in this county is we don't want to be accused of racially profiling. And so everybody else has to wear a facial covering, but people of color, so they don't get racially profiled, are exempted from this. They said people of color who have heightened concerns about racial profiling and harassment due to wearing face coverings in public are completely exempt from this order. No person shall intimidate or harass people who do not comply. This directive is intended to induce voluntary compliance, complement education and encouragement of face coverings to protect our community. So that's all well and good. And, this is the thing. Like, do black people want this exemption? And what about, and I've got another news story to kind of go to this, what about the fact that they're putting themselves and others at risk? Like, coronavirus, COVID-19 does not care about social injustice. It doesn't care if there's racism and there's a discussion about it in America. It just wants to seek out human hosts. And so I think you're putting black people at a greater risk of this. And then once they get it, the next story I have, black Americans are dying of COVID-19 at 3 times the rate of white people. This is from The Guardian. And it's put out by this group called APM Research Lab. And on Wednesday, they said that we have to realize that African Americans have died at a rate of 50.3 per 100,000 people, compared with just 20.7 for whites, 22.9 for Latinos, 22.7 for Asian Americans. So here we have a group of people who in this Oregon County are exempted from wearing a mask, and yet they're the ones that need the mask the most, according to the statistics of who's not doing well from this. I just thought that was interesting. And I get it, we're trying to be sensitive to this issue with race, but at the same time, the virus don't care. And I wonder if they thought about all the ramifications of that before they made this seemingly good idea become reality. I don't know. Have you heard about this diet called the Mayer method? M-A-Y-R. So Rebel Wilson, you might know her from some movies like Pitch Perfect. She went on this diet and she's had amazing results. And I'm always curious when I see a new diet get out there, what's this one all about? So basically this one looks at, it's created by an Austrian physician about 100 years ago called Xaver Mayer. And they say that people are poisoning their digestive system with foods. And so part of it is to try to heal the gut, which I think we're all about. A lot of people are now becoming more aware of gut health. I just did a podcast yesterday with Dr. Will Cole on Real Talk, where we talked about the connection between the brain and the gut and how all these things are interconnected. You have anxiety, depression, and these kind of brain health issues. It's actually a gut health issue. And so I'm very in tune with wanting to get your gut health in order. And in this philosophy, it revamps their clients' diets to eliminate all snacking, which is a good idea, reducing gluten, dairy intake is also reduced, and then change how you chew your food. This was the funny one. And there is this move to kind of get people to chew and chew and chew and chew and chew until it's like liquefied and then swallow. And most people don't do that. When you're chewing food, most people chomp, 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 swallow. And they don't realize that when you swallow food at that whole level, you're not giving your body an ability to digest it very well. So this method actually encourages you to chew, and chew some more. Meals are centered around very slowly eating whole foods with high alkaline content like vegetables, fish, and sheep's milk yogurt. Breakfast, you're given spelt bread, so you can train yourself to focus on consuming slowly. They say a minimum of 30 chews per mouthful. Would you sit there and 30 times? I wonder how many people would be willing to do that. The act of eating is given increased importance to aid in digestion. So that's the whole point. And so clients cannot have their phones with them when they're eating a meal. And the meals are scheduled 4 hours apart, which, as someone who eats ketogenically and listens to my body, if I'm having to eat 4 hours from now, it means I either did not eat enough food or I did not eat the right kinds of food that would keep me satiated. So digestion or no digestion, that's just kind of weird. And you don't drink water while you're eating. I've heard this one before. Dr. Richard Bernstein, I remember interviewing him many years ago. He's a diabetes doctor, has type 1 himself. And he always talked about, oh yeah, he never ever drinks water when he is eating his food, which that's kind of a foreign concept. Everybody, when they go out to eat, you get a soda, you get a glass of wine, but no liquids at all. And the purpose of that is so you don't dilute the hydrochloric acid, so your body better digests those foods. Now, I can't eat food at a meal and not have anything to drink at all. I don't know how people that do that, and definitely down here in the South, don't have no cornbread. Good cornbread sucks about 90% of the moisture out of your body, so would not work with this method. So anyway, I just thought you guys would be interested. There is a new diet out there called the Mayer method, M-A-Y-R, that Rebel Wilson seems to be doing well with. So, all right, one last thing, and then we get to your questions. And again, if you just joined us, we are on Ask Me Anything. Literally ask whatever question you want to ask about keto, fasting, cholesterol, podcasting, book writing, whatever you want to ask about. Please write your questions down there, and we will get to those here in just a moment. But this last story, speaking of fake plant-based burgers, Starbucks has now gotten in on the plant-based game. You heard about this? They've added Impossible Foods breakfast sandwich to their menu. So they added a plant-based sausage patty from Impossible Foods. It's called the Impossible Breakfast Sandwich. Costs about $5. And so they're trying to expand their menu items that are environmentally sustainable. And so, yeah, Starbucks also in April added Beyond Meat to its menus in China to help with the trend. Now, interestingly, I was reading something yesterday that the McDonald's in Canada, I believe it was, tried one of these plant-based burgers. It might have been Beyond Meat, and it didn't do well. So they have now removed it from the menu. So I'm wondering how many more are going to follow suit of what happened in Canada, unless what Starbucks did. I think Starbucks added this because they were paid to add it by Impossible Foods. I just don't believe for a moment that the market is actually there, that these people actually want this on the menu, other than these companies are just desperately trying to hang on to every vestige of people want plant-based burgers, but they don't. So it's going to be interesting to watch how all that goes down here in the next few years. But your turn, you guys. It's time to come to you guys. I'm going to answer your questions that you asked. I did have a few questions come in ahead of time, so let me get to those. Some really good ones came in. And so let's go to this one. What is disc of light? So maybe you listen to the Living La Vida Low Carb show, you listen to Real Talk, and at the end of my podcast, you hear this guy, this music go ding, 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 and then this guy comes on the microphone, disc of light. You ever heard that? So I've been doing my podcast since 2006, and that's the first time that's ever been asked. So Disc of Light is the company that is owned by my podcast producer. His name is Kevin Kennedy Spain. And it was Kevin who got me into podcasting back in 2006, early 2006. He's like, dude, if you talk half as good as you write, because I was only blogging at the time, he's like, you need to be a podcaster. There would be no podcasting with my voice had it not been for Kevin Kennedy Spain. And so he owned this company called Disc of Light. He had a few fringe podcasts at the time. And so when we created the Livin' La Vida Low Carb show, little did he know that it would go on to become his biggest hit. And he's literally produced everything I've ever done as far as a podcast goes. And so that's what it is. In fact, I remember when he first sent me his URL to Disc of Light. Look at Disc of Light, DISCOFLIGHT. It looks like Disco Flight. And so I was like, what the heck is Disco Flight? Is this like Saturday Night Fever in an airplane? Like Disco Flight? I didn't know what Disco Flight meant. He's like, dude, it's Disc of Light. Okay. So anyway, that's where Disc of Light comes from. Thank you for that question. That is a perfect Ask Me Anything question. Next one is not an uncommon question, but one that I think has a good answer for. My weight loss has stalled down to 310 now. Then the next day, the scale reads 320. So let's define what stall means. So by stall, do you mean you're gaining weight on one particular day? By stall, do you mean that you haven't lost weight in a couple of days? By stall, do you mean that your weight has kind of gone up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down for about a week and a half, 2 weeks? What do we mean by stall? So let's define that first. If you don't lose any weight at all, or you start gaining some weight, and it happens over a period of about 2 to 4 weeks, then yes, something is going on. Something is probably causing your weight to go up, or weight to just stay homeostasis and not go down. And so I'm assuming this gain of weight that happened in one day, I'm assuming that you weighed at the same time. Because if you're weighing yourself at say 8 o'clock in the morning on the day you got 310, but then you're not weighing yourself till 4 o'clock in the afternoon the day you were 320, meals will affect that, water intake will affect that. There's so many things that can make your weight go up and down. This is why I'm not a big fan of stepping on the scale. It's not that the scale weight doesn't give you some measure to track. It does. But I think it can be discouraging because you're sitting there looking at that, doing all the right things. I'm going to assume you're doing that. I'm going to assume you're on the up and up with your diet and everything is going great with, physically what you're doing. And yet you're seeing this gain or your stall. Give yourself some grace right now. And I have heard from many people ever since COVID-19 over these past few months, it's not that they have started binge eating junk food. That a lot of people have, but most people in the keto space are writing me and saying, look, I'm okay. I'm eating the right foods. Everything's fine, but I'm still gaining weight. I've had that happen. So I've gained some weight in the midst of this. And I think we need to just be kind to ourselves right now and realize this is a highly stressful time and uncertainty in the world right now and chaos going on with the race relations stuff and the presidential elections coming up later in the year. All these things, guys, can kind of come down on you hard. And if you don't try to chill and roll with it a little bit, it's going to overcome you. So I would argue that your weight loss has not necessarily stalled. And that this anomaly with the 10 pounds in one day, just forget about that. That will correct itself. But what won't correct itself unless you're conscious of it is the stress that could be adding to the stall. I think right now, if you're staying pretty stable in your weight, then that's probably the equivalent of weight loss under normal circumstances. So give yourself a little bit of grace right there and realize that it's not the end of the world. All right, here's a good one. Why do you think so many people in the keto community are denying COVID-19's real? It drives me crazy. So I have seen some people out there who have put messages to the effect of, yeah, we don't know how much of this is propaganda. Is there an agenda here? Are they trying to do things? Look, all of us realize COVID-19 is indeed real. If you don't, then you're not paying attention. Now, is it the grand black plague that the media is trying to make it out to be? No. I always hate it when they talk about, well, we've had X number of new cases of COVID-19. And I'm like, okay, how many of those people are hospitalized? Because that's what's relevant. And of those people, how many of those people have died? Because that's what's relevant. Someone getting COVID-19 is the equivalent of just, and don't misconstrue this, but it's the equivalent of someone getting a cough. And it's like, a lot of people get a cough. How many people have pneumonia because of a cough? It's very few compared to people that have a minor cold. They go get some NyQuil and they sleep it off and they're all better. So again, I think we've overblown the black plagueness of this, and maybe that's what's creating some of the skepticism of some of the COVID deniers within the keto community. But it's very much real. I know several medical doctors who are on the front lines of this, and they're like, yeah, when somebody gets it and gets it bad, the cascade of inflammatory markers, it goes crazy in those people, and they're fighting for their life. And again, it's mostly people who are metabolically unhealthy and aren't doing things to try to boost their immune system, which is why I, in my work, have been trying to promote, hey, look, we need to be promoting how people boost their immune system. Keto is part of it, but it's only one part of it. I think there's a lot of things we can be doing to put ourselves in a better position to be stronger when this happens. And truth be told, everybody's going to get COVID-19. Like, let's be honest about that. At some point, it will be inevitable that the exposure to this thing is going to hit every single person. So let's stop conflating every little person that gets this thing, because we're all going to get this thing. What we need to pay attention to is, okay, when someone gets it, are they getting severe symptoms? And if they're getting severe symptoms, what is the commonality between all those? That's the thing that I think has gotten the ire of a lot of people is, well, they've blown it up to make it look like everybody getting it's going to die. And that's simply not true. It's 90-something, upper 90-something percent recovery rate. And so I think that's what's driving a lot of it. It just seems like because there's such a minuscule number of people that get seriously ill and an even more minuscule percentage of people that are actually dying from this, that they're not taking it as seriously as they should be. But thank you for that question. And this is the last one, you guys. Why do I feel so cold while I'm fasting? I feel cold in all of my body, usually in 18 hours or more of fasting. People that tend to get cold, it's several reasons. I mean, did you eat enough food before the fast? Because when your body is in a hypocaloric state, one of the ways that it tries to preserve energy is it turns off some of the thermal effects in the body to preserve energy, because making your body warm actually takes energy. And so if you're not eating enough on those days, then a hypocaloric state will most certainly kick in and make you feel cold. That's one. Or if you have some kind of hypothyroid issue going on, which a lot of people have issues with hypothyroidism, you might want to get that checked out, because that will make you cold as well. People with autoimmune conditions oftentimes deal with this too. So just know that there are a myriad of factors that could be at play. I have a friend of mine who, when they step outside, it could be 90-something degrees outside. They step outside, they're freezing. I step outside and I'm gasping for air because it's so hot. And so, I would say within a fasted state, it's because maybe you're not eating enough before the fast so that your body is having to preserve the energy and not having the thermal effect, or you have things going on with your thyroid. All right, that is all the questions that came in ahead of time. Now we're going to come to you guys. We're going to start over here with my Instagram followers, then over to Facebook, finally over to YouTube. Thank you all. Please keep your questions coming, and I will get to as many of them as I can. All right, let's see what you have to say here. And JimmyRants.com, as always, is the website. Go check it out, you guys. A Keto Life is Good has the first question. What originally influenced you to try keto, and how long have you been doing it, and what have been the benefits? Great question. So I wrote a book called Keto Clarity, and in there I answer a lot of those questions, but I had been low-carb Atkins since 2005. I got a diet book at Christmas time in 2004. It was Dr. Atkins' New Diet Revolution. I read that book from cover to cover between Christmas and New Year's, and I thought, man, this guy is whacked out of his mind, because it was literally the opposite of everything I'd always heard was healthy. But I was desperate. I was 410 pounds. I was on 3 prescription medications. I needed to do something. So I embraced low-carb diets, not ketogenic, but low-carb diets, and lost a whole bunch of weight in 2004, and that's where Livin' La Vida Low Carb started the next year, and then my podcasting in 2006. Keto and ketosis and the ketogenic diet was all kind of thrown out there a little bit synonymously with low-carb Atkins. I was attending a lot of these obesity conferences. This is where I met Dr. Eric Westman for the first time, and they would talk about ketogenic diets, or what they call them, LCKD, low carb ketogenic diets in the research world. And I remember there was 2 of the best researchers in keto, Dr. Steve Finney, that's him back there, and Dr. Jeff Volek, and they started writing books. And they wrote a book in 2009, maybe 2010, called The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living. And they actually asked me to write the last chapter of their book with the patient's perspective on low-carb diets. And the follow-up to that book was called The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Performance. And it was meant to be a book for athletes, but I got my grubby hands on it. And I'm reading this book, and I'm halfway between reading this book, very short little book, but I'm in the middle of the book. And I see Dr. Finney writes about testing for blood ketones. I was like, blood ketones? What? Like, ketones to me at that time was peeing on a stick and having to wash your hands really good because you got pee all over your hands. And it turned pink to purple to show your level of ketosis. And he said, well, that's the traditional way that a lot of people test for ketosis, but there's a better way if you test your blood. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what? So I started looking up how I could test my blood ketones, and I found the meter Precision Extra from Abbott. And I went to look for strips, and the strips were about $5 to $6 a piece. I was like, whoa. But I wanted to test this idea of being in a true state of nutritional ketosis. So it started in 2011 reading that book. So then I decided I'm going to do a 3-month experiment in 2012 where I'm going to test nutritional ketosis and see what happens. Well, I start testing my blood in the morning and in the evening, and I did it for 3 months, and I had such phenomenal success doing it. By the way, that very first test, when I thought I was in ketosis, and I tested my blood with the Precision Extra, it was a big old 0.3. Not nutritional ketosis. And I'd been low carb for years at that point. So there's a huge difference between low carb and ketogenic. People think just cut your carbs low and you'll be ketogenic. That's not always true. So that's what started my journey and got me interested in keto. It's then when I did those 3 months and I had such phenomenal success, and I was posting about it on my blog at the time, I was like, I have to keep this going. Let me do it for a whole year and watch what happens. And I ended up losing about 80 pounds, and I was showing levels of ketosis that were very therapeutic. I was noticing my mental health was getting a lot better. I was having a sharper brain, and I could be very good when I'm doing podcasts and interviewing people. It was good all around. And so I shared all about that whole story of that journey in that 1 year in my book, Keto Clarity. So go pick up a copy of that. And you can see every benefit known to mankind of ketosis. But that's how it all started. Sharon says, have you tried Perfect Keto or other collagen supplements? Yeah, I have Perfect Keto. For collagen, I like the Further Food brand of collagen. My buddy Abel James just sent me some of his. He usually watches over here on Facebook. He sent me some of his collagen, his chocolate collagen. I usually throw it in with a little bit of Keto Chow. So Keto Chow is a high-fat shake. And so they have various flavors. And so I'll do like a raspberry Keto Chow with a scoop of chocolate collagen and mix it with heavy cream and water and ice, and then shake it up and drink that. On occasion, I'll have those kinds of things. But yes, I have tried their products, and they're not bad. Karen says, I live in Cambodia. Raising meat is a major part of our economy. That's not changing here 15 years from now. That's good to know, Karen. I think we might all be having imports from Cambodia. Rachel says, impossible food guy is delusional. I can't disagree, Rachel. I wonder what he thought when, during the pandemic, all the real meat was bought up and all the fake meat stayed fully stocked and unpurchased. That's true. And it's still there. And it'll last for years in there until people, I guess the food companies realize, or the grocery stores realize, nobody's buying this crap. Brittany says, I don't drink anything with meal. Wow, Brittany, like you're unique, because I think most people do drink something with their meal. I've tried it though. I don't know what it is. And maybe it's just because I've become conditioned to drink when I'm eating. I drink like water when I'm eating. I just can't do it. And I've tried. I really have. I actually am one of those people that if I don't drink something, I actually feel like I'm choking. So maybe I need to chew some more. I don't know. What are the best cheeses to use on keto? I can't give up dairy, says Sharon. So I don't think you have to give up dairy unless you have a specific sensitivity to it, or if you have a propensity to overeat it. I think the easy things to overeat on keto, because they're legal, is cheese and nuts. And so just be careful with both of those. Just monitor your intake. Neither one of them is an unlimited all-you-can-eat buffet. You want to titrate down on the amount of those things that you eat, because they are easy to overconsume. But as far as what cheeses to eat, hard cheeses are probably best. Obviously, I don't have to tell anybody in this audience, Velveeta is not cheese. American cheese is not cheese. In fact, if you ever look at American cheese, it doesn't say just American cheese. It says American cheese product. And so it's a derivative of cheese. It's not cheese though, but how many Americans eat American cheese thinking that's their cheese? So things like cheddar, Asiago, I mean, you name the hard cheeses that are out there. What is it? We have a store here over there called Ingles. And I go into Ingles. They literally have one humongous section of all these imported cheeses from France and all over the world. And it's hard cheese galore. And I'd say if that floats your boat, go give it a try and try those things. I remember I went to Italy last year, and literally every single meal they had mozzarella cheese everywhere. And I love mozzarella cheese. And to the point that when I got home, I didn't want to eat mozzarella cheese for like 3 months, because literally every single meal, even breakfast, all had mozzarella cheese. But yeah, choose the cheeses that are the hardest, and they tend to be the better ones on keto. BB says, I've seen meat shelves empty, never the soy or plant-based ones. Yeah, exactly. Brittany wants to know if I'm a coffee drinker. Brittany, you know me well. I think coffee is disgusting. And it's disgusting because I can taste it really strongly. And it's got a bitter note in my mouth. I think I'm one of those like hyper tasters, you know, when you taste something that most people think is pretty innocuous, I think is blowing my head off. It's so whatever. So when it comes to coffee is so bitter on my tongue. And I remember I went to Australia for a tour a few years ago. And, hey, mate, let me buy you a cup of coffee. I'm like, I don't really like coffee. He's like, Aussie coffee is the best in the whole world. Have some coffee. And so to appease him, I had the coffee, and I'm sitting there. And he's like, Mike, what's the matter? I said, it's bitter. It's really, I gave him this. It was less bitter than the ones I've had here in America, but it was still bitter. I don't know what it is. And it's the same with like broccoli. If I eat broccoli in kind of a raw-ish form, I can't handle it. It's too much. And I can't go much higher than like 85% dark chocolate because much higher than that, it's very bitter. I don't do spice very well. So yeah, I'm a hyper taster, which can be both a good thing and a bad thing all at the same time. But coffee is kind of ixnayed because of that. I've noticed lately that I almost always go up on the scale after consuming beef. Any thoughts what might be causing this? I don't know if it's the beef per se. A keto life is good. Thank you for that question. It's almost impossible to say, well, I ate beef and therefore beef is making me gain weight. I don't necessarily think it's the food. Now, it could be, and you might be having a sensitivity to it for some reason, which could be causing some inflammation, which then could lead to a weight gain. I wouldn't micromanage it to that level. I would say, okay, just monitor it over time, see how you feel. Do you have any digestive issues after you eat it? Are you noticing anything different eating beef as compared to other sources of food? But don't discount how this stress with COVID-19 is impacting everybody no matter what you're eating. So I wouldn't necessarily use your scale as the way to determine what foods are good or bad right now, because right now you're going to get a very distorted picture. Brittany says, I seriously didn't know you didn't like coffee. I'm questioning everything. Brittany's been a good friend of mine for a little while, and you just found out today I don't like coffee. I really don't. I'm like anti-coffee. Blah. No offense to all you people that need your nitro coffee in the morning, but that's not Jimmy Moore. I do just fine without that. So thank you, Instagram. Let me pop over here now to my Facebook followers. And again, we're doing Ask Me Anything. Ask any question you want. This is what we do on Fridays here on Jimmy Rants. What's up, guys? Let's see what you guys have to say here. Mandy says, Facebook has not notified me that you're on. So I'm on Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. I've pretty much locked that in as my schedule. I used to try to throw in an extra one during the week, and I used to try to throw in a weekend one, and I still might do that. But you can bet your bottom dollar I will always be on here unless I tell you otherwise. I will always be on live 11 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. So, I know that there's a lot of people not getting notifications. All the social media have gone really cray-cray lately. And I don't know how we fix that other than we create our own platform. And I know people are working on that. Brian says the mirror is greater than the scale. Cannot disagree. I think that is wonderful. Kira said she also had trouble. So yeah, just come here every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I try to be here. And again, if I'm not going to be here, I will let you know I'm not going to be here. Brian says, various times keto can be hard to stay true to. Weddings, vacation, lack of will for a moment. When I go off the train, my digestive system gets super ticked at me. Is that normal? Well, let's back up. Various times keto can be hard to stay true to. Weddings, vacation, lack of will. I think that's a choice. And if you choose to make the choice to go off plan during those things, nobody's going to judge you. I think that's a part of living life, and it's a choice you make that's conscious. Now, what you're telling me, though, is it messes with your digestion, and it gets you not feeling your best. And so then you have to ask the question, is it worth that momentary pleasure on the lips to go off plan all because it's a cruise that you're on? Or to go off plan because, well, it's a wedding, or it's a vacation, or it's the holidays. Because here's the truth of the matter. There's always going to be weddings. There's always going to be vacation. And like clockwork, every single year, November, December, we got the holidays. I think we like to use these moments where we're getting away from our normal life as an excuse to go off plan. And to me, what that tells me is maybe it hasn't become a lifestyle change. what you're doing and what you're describing is you're still on a diet. Again, nothing wrong with that if that's what you're choosing to do. One thing that has really helped me is just recognizing that this is how I eat now. The old way is gone, the new way is in. And just because I go on vacation doesn't mean I can't find choices that fit the template of what I'm doing. Just because I have the holidays come up does not mean I need to partake in all of that crappy garbage. So it's all about choice. You get to make that choice. And here's the fun part. You have all of that in your control. It's an empowering feeling. And of course, family kind of convolutes it. Well, it's never going to hurt you to have it just this one time when you know better. You're describing you're not feeling well in your digestion when you're eating off plan. So if that's true, I'd say listen to your body because your body knows best and get back on plan. And occasionally, if you want to have something off plan, that's fine. Nobody's going to fault you for that. But don't think that just because it's a wedding, just because it's vacation, just because it's the holidays and you don't have willpower to resist, that gives you free license to just let it rip. Okay? Kira says, do you know anything about VO2 max? And if this is important to track, my Apple Watch and Health app like to tell me about this measurement. I just don't know how my oxygen can be tracked just from the heart rate. Yeah, I'm familiar with it. It's primarily a thing that I know a lot of athletes like to track. Same with this thing called HRV, heart rate variability. That one is an important marker. VO2 max, not so much unless you are an athlete. HRV, though, can be very, very helpful to kind of see if you're in a sympathetic state, which is very stressed, or a parasympathetic state, which is where you kind of chill. You want to kind of find that balance. And so there's this little strap that you can put along your chest. You attach it to your chest, and there's plenty of apps out there that will show you your heart rate variability. To me, that's a lot more instructive. And I know the Oura Ring, by the way, when I sleep at night, also shows my HRV. It's a lot more instructive of how you're doing in like your health as a non-athlete than the VO2 max. But thank you for asking that question. Mandy says processed cheese food product. Yes, that is what American cheese is. Do you have any good resources for Sjogren's and or autoimmunity? So I don't know anything specifically for Sjogren. I don't know how you say that. Sorry. Sjogrens. I've seen the word obviously before. But autoimmune disease in general, my co-host on Real Talk is Dr. Will Cole. That is his jam. He's all about autoimmune. His family, he has a family history of autoimmune disease. And so he's gone very extensive into looking at that. So go to his website, drwillcole.com, drwillcole.com. There's a lot of people out there talking about autoimmunity. Mickey Trescott is a big name, the autoimmune paleo protocol that she came up with. But yeah, there's a lot of really good people out there doing great work with autoimmune disease in general. So I hope that helps you out. Thank you, Facebook. Let's pop over here now to my YouTube channel. We are doing Ask Me Anything, you guys. So literally ask me anything you want. Linda says hello. Johanna says hello from Finland. Bob is here from North Carolina. James says, Jimmy freaking Moore. Yeah, I'm here. Oh my gosh. James says, I want a giant bed sheet with Jimmy Moore's face on it. No, you don't. No, we're not going there. Linda says, I also always wondered about the disc of light. Yes, my podcast producer. Benjamin, how do you deal with dietary perfectionism? This happens to me in two ways. One, dietary slip, and I think I ruined the day. May as well start again tomorrow. The other is that I've been carnivore for so long that I now feel guilty about having broccoli or spinach. I even feel guilty eating fish, chicken, and eggs, not beef. So that's interesting. It's funny because in the carnivore community, we're like, you know what? We're going to cheat on carnivore. We're going to eat keto. It's like cheating on carnivore is eating keto. So yeah, I just don't like the whole notion of cheats and feeling like you've messed up. I mean, I think you can really get psychological there if you're not careful. And if you try to be too perfect with things, you can fall into this condition that's called orthorexia, where you are actually having such an obsession about eating healthy that you literally feel like that if you go off of whatever you think is the healthy plan, you think you're going to get sick because you went off that plan. I think that is an unhealthy relationship with food. Let's face it, food is food. Food is meant to be fuel for your body, and we get some enjoyment out of it, but its primary purpose is to fuel us. And let's not get so hard-nosed that we have to be perfect 100% of the time or you somehow have failed. To me, all that does is add stress to your life. And what we're trying to do is to de-stress and remove obstacles that would make this from being so rigid that you don't feel like you can keep up with it. I think sustainability in any way of eating requires you to be willing to bend with it a little bit and make it so it'll work for you. All right, so let me come back over here to Instagram. The one thing I've noticed is my weight gain. It's been going on for a couple of years. I don't think it's related to COVID stress. Well, I mean, if you've had weight gain happening, I would just say, look at your life. Has anything changed? Do you have a boss that's riding you at work? Do you have, family issues at home that could be causing issues of stress? Are you having anything at all? Are you sleeping well? If you're not sleeping well, that can also impact it as well. So there's so many things that could be involved. And everybody likes to go right to the diet right away. And if there's something culprit in the diet, definitely clean that up. But if your diet's right and you're eating adequate calories and you're having good quality whole foods, then that's not it. I think sometimes we try to make something of our diet when the diet's perfect. It's just you haven't managed your stress. You haven't learned to sleep better. You haven't implemented proper movement into your life. All of those things are just as an important part of this equation as the diet itself. Plus, look at where you are in your health. Look at where you've come from. Do you have insulin resistance? Is that causing you a little more challenges than other people? Absolutely. And so you have to know that. Christy says, felt good omitting beef yesterday and was down 3 pounds and a half an inch in my tummy despite eating 140 grams of fat and protein. That is awesome. So awesome. The comment about weight gain was related to when eating meat, beef specifically. Okay, well, if it's been happening for a couple of years, then yeah, you know your body best. Just keep tinkering with it. And if you find that beef is causing that issue, maybe you switch to another source of fatty protein. Nobody says you have to eat beef. This is the funny thing. Like when people come into keto, they think, oh, well, keto is, and they name all these things that they hear other people online eating keto. And I'm like, okay, it could be those things, but really at the end of the day, keto is what you choose to do. So don't put yourself in a box of, well, keto has to be XYZ when it could be ABC for you. My keto is going to be different than your keto. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like if you don't eat beef in your keto, that's fine. Get in the sources of protein and fat that work for you. She says, I love my beef. I don't want to give it up yet. Well, that's a whole nother thing. And maybe it's worth an experiment. Try fattier cuts of beef. Try less fatty cuts of beef. See if it's a fat issue. Because I don't think the protein in beef in and of itself is ever going to cause you issues. So it could be the fat that's in it. And so kind of playing around with the fat a little bit. I know some people don't digest fats very well. And so that could be causing some gut disturbances that could be leading to some of the weight gain. So definitely let me know how that goes for you. I would be very interested in hearing. All right, let's see if we had any other questions come in. Nope, that is it. So guys, thank you for hanging out today on this Jimmy Rants and Ask Me Anything. I love Fridays, you guys. Like when I get to answer questions that randomly come in, like this is my wheelhouse. Like I want to always be a source of information and encouragement and helping out as much as I can. And so kind of doing these Friday ones, it's a little more loosey-goosey for me to be able to do this format. Rachel says, my boyfriend has alpha gal. Alpha gal? It's from the Lone Star tick and he's allergic to red meat. Yes, like I know people that have had the tick bite and yeah, it's made them averse to meat, some kind of a reaction with the tick bite. And then it might be the amino acids in some of the red meat. So yeah, it's sad. I would die if I couldn't have a ribeye steak. So no. Give me my steak and nobody gets hurt. So, all right, guys, let me pop off of here. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. You got to go follow me, though, right here, Instagram. I'm at Living Low Carb Man, LivinLowCarbMan. Once you're there, engage live. We also go live over here, simulcast live over on my Facebook page. So thank you guys for being here. Also on my YouTube channel. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed the live, you can watch it on IGTV right here on Instagram. We also throw the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants. You will find the show. Finally, we do have an official website for this show, JimmyRants.com. And while you're there, you can see any of the past episodes, 500 and something and counting now. So we got quite a few videos for you to catch up on if you're new to the show. And if you get value out of what we do here, if you like the answers I give and like the way I communicate things, definitely give value back to me. Click on that Patreon page and a gift of any amount would be greatly appreciated. All right, guys, that's it for now. We'll be back again real soon. Bye. All right.